Welcome to this special edition of Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Stu Myrick here on this Thursday as I get ready to bring you the media conference call by AEW CEO and owner Tony Khan for this Saturday's AEW All Out. It is happening this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, early start time, 2 p.m. Central. It'll be on pay-per-view. It'll be on HBO Max, the first pay-per-view on HBO Max. I made the mistake on Tuesday. It wasn't Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door was not on HBO Max, but All Out is. And it will come to us from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. So, as is customary, Tony Khan invites the media to a conference call. The conference call will probably last around an hour. There will be questions about the pay-per-view. There might be a question or two about something outside the pay-per-view, but we'll see. And so, without further ado, let me send you to AEW CEO and President, Tony Khan.
Thank you all for joining us. This is going to be such an exciting show. It's our first ever afternoon All Out this Saturday afternoon. It's going to be the most attended All Out ever. It'll be the most tickets we've ever sold to All Out, and it's our 7th All Out. The first time we brought the event to Toronto. It's going to be one of our most successful shows ever, and it's very special because it's our first ever pay-per-view on HBO Max. It's the first pay-per-view of any kind on HBO Max for AEW All Out this Saturday afternoon. We're really excited about it because they're great partners for us. It's the most prestigious platform that there is. HBO Max has the best content, the best shows and movies, and now they're going to have the best pay-per-view wrestling with AEW All Out this Saturday afternoon. I'm really excited to talk more about AEW All Out with all of you. I want to take your questions. I'll try to take as many as I can for the full hour. And if I don't get to answer your question, hopefully I'll see you this Saturday at the post-pay-per-view scrum. And as always, I'll try to stay as long as I can and take as many questions as I can there too. But right now, Danny, we can start taking questions about AEW All Out this Saturday afternoon right now.
Thanks so much, Tony. First up, we're going to have Courtney Rice with Women's Wrestling Talk, followed by Mike McGuire with Vista Radio Canada. Courtney, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, I do.
Oh, awesome. Hello, Tony. Hello, everybody from AEW. I just have a quick question regarding the Fatal 4-Way match for the AEW Women's title. Obviously, we know this is the first time Tekla is going to be getting a shot at an opportunity for the AEW Women's title. And also, this is the first time Chris Statlander has had a title shot in 4 years, along with the storyline with the Death Riders. My question is mostly on a rivalry that some people tend to forget on the radar, and that's between Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. We obviously know the last time these two ladies met was when Toni was the interim women's champion, and Jamie unfortunately had an unsuspected injury. But we've seen little parts of them where the two of them, they haven't attacked each other, but they have gotten face-to-face with each other. And also, my question would be this: would this be a good opportunity for them to have a storyline leading up to All Out in Wembley Stadium, with the fact Jamie Hayter has never wrestled at Wembley Stadium with obviously her injury, and she came back to the pre-show, and a good opportunity for these two since they know each other very well?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for all four, and you framed the question very well. But at the beginning, you mentioned that this is the first ever opportunity for Tekla at the AEW Women's World Championship, or the first opportunity of any kind for Tekla, who is undefeated, unpinned in AEW. Nobody's pinned Tekla or made her submit in any AEW match, and she won again last night at September to Remember, which I thought was a tremendous show last night. And you're totally right. It was very interesting to see the former world champion, Jamie Hayter, back in the mix with timeless Toni Storm. It's a very different iteration of Toni Storm than the one Jamie Hayter knew a long time ago. But Jamie Hayter's changed a lot herself. And it's a lot of very interesting things happening in the match. And you also mentioned it's the first title shot for Chris Statlander in 4 years. She has a lot of things going on. Some strained relationships in AEW, but also an interesting situation developing around her and the Death Riders. And we've got Tekla, Statlander, Jamie Hayter, and Timeless Tony Storm all in one match. So I think there's a lot of interesting things to focus on. Absolutely, the history between Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter is one of the very interesting dynamics. But isn't it a lot of hatred between Tekla and Jamie Hayter? And Jamie Hayter's return to AEW was cut short by Tekla this year. It's been a great 2025. We've had to work around at times injuries to the very top stars, and Jamie Hayter's injury changed some things just when we were expecting her back in the mix, and Tekla is responsible for that. She's been wrecking havoc all over AEW. Chris Statlander herself back in the mix for a title shot. Tekla getting her first title shot. Jamie Hayter back in the mix for a title shot that she absolutely deserves. And Timeless Tony Storm, I think quite possibly the greatest champion in all of wrestling. And a star who goes far beyond pro wrestling, a star of stage, screen, a star who appears on TBS on Wednesdays on Dynamite, who appears on Saturdays on TNT on Collision, and also the first wrestler to cross over to TCM, Turner Classic Movies. And now she'll go to HBO Max for pay-per-view and take it to yet another platform. And Timeless Tony Storm is an iconic wrestler and is biting off quite a challenge in this four-way match, taking on three great challengers as we've seen it develop and unfold on these shows, and reaching a crescendo last night at September to Remember, which again I thought was just a fantastic show with a fantastic live crowd in London, Ontario. They were incredible fans. Thank you to the fans last night in London, Ontario. People all over the world really appreciated them. They delivered, and I thought the show delivered, and we're going to deliver in a major way this Saturday afternoon with the card across the board with great matches, including the four-way women's match with Timeless Tony Storm defending the title against Jamie Hayter. A lot of history between them, and as you said, the first title opportunity in 4 years for Chris Statlander, and the first title opportunity of any kind for Tekla, who certainly has no love lost with Jamie Hayter. It seems with Tony Storm, and a lot to watch around Chris Statlander herself in this match. So a very interesting situation unfolding in this four-way match, which I just think is going to be tremendous. Thank you for bringing up that match, the participants, and framing it so well. And I'm very excited for All Out this Saturday afternoon, including that great Women's World Championship match this Saturday at All Out.
Thank you, Tony. Mike McGuire with Vista Radio Canada, you're up next, followed by Jason Powell with ProWrestling.net. Mike?
Thank you very much, Danny. Tony, great to talk to you again. Welcome back to the Great White North, as it were. And there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about wrestling shows and fans and affordability and whatnot. And congratulations on the numbers you already have going into All Out this weekend as far as live attendance goes. Some of your wrestlers have been saying that this might be an opportunity for fans who may be feeling priced out of wrestling to discover an AEW and, you know, maybe even bring their family sort of thing. Now, AEW has always been an alternative. So I guess the question is do you see right now with the turnout you're getting in Toronto for All Out and maybe other opportunities internationally even as an opportunity to expand that family base and make the product appeal to that audience who may feel like they're getting a little priced out right now?
Well, absolutely. AEW's ticket pricing is designed to be very family friendly, and it has been that way from the very beginning. Everybody who's been involved in AEW from the start will tell you that we've always wanted to maintain affordable ticket pricing for the fans, and particularly to bring families and young fans to the show and make it accessible for fans of all backgrounds, of all ages. And I think it's really exciting for us that we're getting some good feedback about that. And absolutely, we're so thrilled to be coming to Toronto Scotiabank Arena this Saturday afternoon for AEW All Out. It's a major show for us for many reasons, including being the first pay-per-view ever for us on HBO Max, and it being very important for AEW to deliver a great show on this massive stage with this huge opportunity that Warner Brothers has given us. I think it's really important to be very, very mindful that this is a huge show for AEW for many reasons, for our fans, and our fans have been stepping forward for us in so many ways. The fans last night at September to Remember on Wednesday Night Dynamite were just absolutely fantastic. And then to have so many great fans, such a great turnout, such a huge attendance, the most attended AEW All Out pay-per-view of all time. Again, and as I mentioned earlier, this is the 7th AEW All Out, and it's going to be the most tickets we've ever sold. And it speaks to the great fans in Toronto, and hopefully it speaks to what we're doing with trying to maintain affordable ticket pricing for AEW shows for families, because we are a family-friendly company when it comes to trying to price the tickets to get families into the AEW shows, including All Out this Saturday afternoon. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thanks so much, Mike, and thank you, Tony. Jason Powell with ProWrestling.net is up next, followed by Rob Wong with the Toronto Sun. Jason?
Hey, Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jason, hey.
Hey, it worked this time. So there's been a lot of fan discussion about the possibility of you maybe running a big event in the spring of 2027 with WrestleMania taking place in Saudi Arabia. And the idea is that a lot of the independent groups that normally run Mania weekend would be able to run shows based around your big event. Are you interested in doing something like that?
I have a lot of interest in it, and I can promise we're going to run a huge event in the spring of 2027. I think spring 2027 is going to be a great time for AEW. We're still going to be in the peak of this massive media deal that we've done with Warner Brothers Discovery. We're going to be delivering great shows, Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS and HBO Max, and continuing that great tradition. At that point in 2027, as I'm sure you probably know, Jason, at that point, I guess it'll be 56 years of wrestling on the Superstation TBS at that point for Wednesday Night Dynamite, and we'll keep this great thing going with Saturdays on TNT and pay-per-views on HBO Max. And absolutely, there's going to be a huge pay-per-view for sure, and one pay-per-view I can tell you is going to be huge in spring of 2027 that has done huge things for us in AEW, and I think some really historic things in pro wrestling, is AEW Revolution. We'll have a huge revolution. And the event's already done some major things. When you look back from the very beginning, it's been a great show for us. My favorite, for many reasons, I think, is Revolution 2024, which set all the box office records in Greensboro for attendance and the biggest gate in the history of the city of Greensboro, which so many of you wrestling journalists and all the wrestling fans know. The city of Greensboro is one of the greatest pro wrestling cities of all time. And to be able to put on a show like that and have AEW Revolution be such a great event, and to have Sting and Darby Allin go out in Sting's last match as undefeated World Tag Team Champions, to have Sting spend 3 years wrestling in AEW from Revolution 2021 to Revolution 2024, to have Sting's 3-year run culminate in Sting retaining the World Tag Team Championships, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks, maybe the greatest tag team match of all time. And in Greensboro, it set all the box office records in one of the greatest wrestling cities. So absolutely, I know Revolution can be one of the biggest events in wrestling and has done historic things in pro wrestling and can continue to. So we just had a great Revolution and had our best box office ever in Los Angeles for the great event that we had, Revolution 2025. And we've had these great pay-per-views in 2025. Going to the Crypto.com arena was very special to me to do our first event there. And we've run great venues, had big success, and absolutely, people ask about the spring of 2027. I can promise we'll have a huge AEW Revolution and a lot of big plans for that then. And obviously very focused right now on 2025. That's looking very far ahead, but there's definitely potential for us to do some big things in the spring of 2027. I think 2026 we're set up very well for with major events, but also this has been a great year for us, and hope to close it out very strong going into this Saturday afternoon with AEW All Out. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason, and thanks, Tony. Next up, we have Rob Wong with the Toronto Sun, followed by Dominic D'Angelo with Brass Ring Media. Rob?
Hey, Tony, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Just wanted to ask you about Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, obviously going to be one of the highlights of this event. The first time they're tagging together in a match in Toronto in quite some time. I'm just curious from your perspective, what have these two guys meant to your company since joining?
They are two of the greatest wrestlers I've ever worked with separately, and now it's a dream to work with them collectively. I grew up watching the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. I'm a huge fan of them both, and I've gotten to work with them separately now for years, and in the case of Christian Cage, for many years. And Adam Copeland's come to AEW at a great time for us. He's a huge star, and to be able to come to the hometown of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage and have them team up in AEW in Toronto for the first time against one of the greatest tag teams of all time, FTR, and a tag team that we've seen a really personal story unfolding for months. And it's something that is going to mean a lot to a lot of fans all over the world. And for the fans live here in Toronto, it's going to be so special. It's something the fans have looked forward to. And I'm very excited to announce that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR will open AEW All Out. It's a tag team match fans around the world have really, I believe, have been looking forward to for a long time. It's a dream match, in my personal opinion, in many ways, because it's two of the greatest tag teams of all time. And it's a match for so many reasons. Who knew if it would happen? Both Adam Copeland and Christian Cage had extended retirements from pro wrestling. Both of them were away from wrestling for many years. And to have Adam Copeland back in the ring and to be in AEW, it's incredible. And Cage's return was remarkable. And he's somebody who's been with us since the empty stadium pandemic days. He's a core AEW guy, and he's been here and is a big part of this locker room. And he's been here alongside at times and now lined up against FTR, who've been with us now for over 5 years. They have built a legacy of wins, championships, classic matches, and milestones all over the world of professional wrestling. I have so much respect for FTR. I don't like the way they've been conducting themselves recently or the company that they've kept. Although, I do have fondness for Stokely. I've worked with him on the board of directors of Ring of Honor. I think he's a very talented mind for pro wrestling, but he's a questionable character, I do have to say at times. And I have to say that FTR in the ring are quite possibly the greatest tag team ever to lace up the boots and step in the ring, in my opinion. And having worked with them for 5 years, I can say that in the history of AEW, they've been involved in so many of the greatest matches, also in Ring of Honor, involved in, I think, the greatest matches in the history of the promotion and maybe pro wrestling in their trilogy against the Briscoes, Mark Briscoe and the late, great Jay Briscoe. Of course, Mark Briscoe will be wrestling, and he has a lot on the line in the TNT tables and tax match against MJF. But FTR and the Briscoes, one of the greatest trilogies, and was such a blessing for me to be able to work with the late great Jay Briscoe. And the matches he had with FTR along with his brother Mark, they're some of the greatest matches ever. And FTR stand quite possibly atop the world of all-time tag team wrestling. And then you have Copeland and Christian, one of the greatest tag teams ever, two of the greatest individual stars that both retired, stepped away, and now here we are in their hometown. And I can promise you, I could not imagine a better way in any position on the card, whether it's to open, close, or any place on any show in Toronto. I can't imagine a more exciting, compelling match, especially given the personal stakes and the rivalry and the way this is all unfolded between FTR and Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. And Adam Copeland had built such a close friendship in and out of the ring with FTR. Outside the ring, they were a huge part of his return to pro wrestling. Before we even launched AEW, they helped get Adam Copeland ready to step back in the ring. And then when FTR came here, I think it really helped inspire Adam Copeland to come here, and Christian Cage coming here, I think inspired Adam Copeland to want to be in AEW, I believe. And then who knew that Christian Cage and Adam Copeland could have this kind of reunion, but especially to have such a big match in their hometown, wrestling against their very personal, bitter rivals, as we saw. And the rivalry got even more intense last night with Christian Cage smashing that microphone into Dax's face. The rivalry, very personal and long-standing history. Adam Copeland has a lot of history with FTR, but now clearly no love lost with Christian Cage at FTR either. That was a great segment on a great September to remember last night. One of the real highlights fans will take away was what happened with Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, and FTR. And what a way to start the show. And it starts at 3 p.m. on pay-per-view this Saturday afternoon with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR. I can't wait for that. I'm so excited for this event, and you won't want to miss that at 3 p.m. The weekend of AEW kicks off at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and that means for the tailgate brawl, for many people as they tailgate, that could mean getting up early, breakfast. It could mean kegs, eggs, both kegs and eggs. It could mean a long day, but it's going to mean, I promise you, a great weekend of pro wrestling this Saturday afternoon. You're going to want to watch this, and it's going to start at 3 p.m. with, in my opinion, the best possible way it could. Adam Copeland, the Rated R superstar, and Christian Cage, two of the greatest wrestlers, in my opinion, ever, reuniting, one of the greatest tag teams ever in their hometown where they grew up, wanting to wrestle in this marquee arena, the Scotiabank Arena, in front of this big crowd, this massive crowd, for the most tickets we've ever sold for AEW All Out in our 7th chapter, versus one of the greatest tag teams of all time, their very bitter rivals, FTR. And it kicks off the show this Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 noon Pacific time, early start time, Saturday afternoon, AEW All Out. Christian Cage and Adam Copeland versus FTR. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Up next, we have the write-in from Ella J with A Wrestling Gal. Ella writes, unlike most pay-per-views, on top of 0 Hour, you're having the tailgate brawl. Should we expect things like this at more shows going forward, or is this just a one-time matter?
Well, I am really excited about this week, and hopefully we can get more great opportunities if we do well in these spots from our awesome partners, Warner Brothers Discovery. They gave us the awesome opportunity to have a 3-hour September to remember last night, and I thought it was an awesome event. I thought it was a great go-home event, and I was really excited to have 3 hours Wednesday night on TBS. Of course, Dynamite's our flagship show. We've done over 300 episodes, nearly 6 years now of Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS. And now this Saturday afternoon, actually Saturday morning in LA on the West Coast, for all the Pacific time zone fans, it's going to be an early start with an 11 a.m. start for the tailgate brawl, and 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, and noon Mountain Time for the tailgate brawl, which will be a great event. And absolutely, I am very eager to hopefully get more opportunities to do things like this, to have a 3-hour event like a September to remember, like we've just had leading into All Out this Saturday afternoon, and then have the tailgate brawl, which should be really fun. I grew up in Champaign, Illinois, tailgating for University of Illinois football games. Some of my first memories are being at the tailgate outside the game and going into the football games. And that's literally the first things I remember in life is tailgating. And I think it's really fun. And I thought it was a really fun way to start the show. I'm very excited for the tailgate brawl that it's named after, this big 4-on-4 brawl. We saw an ice cooler get involved. There's potential for charcoal grill, all kinds of things. But just like a tailgate, it's a great way to kick things off. For me, you don't want to have a big event without a big tailgate. They go hand in hand together, and it's a big part of AEW. And now this is a historic event. So everyone participating on the tailgate brawl, I think it's a great position. It's historic. It's very important. And I think if we get more opportunities like this, the tailgate brawl will be recognized as an even more exciting spot than it's ever been to go out there to open the big pay-per-view nights, because now the show is on TNT in front of all these eyes in these great spots, and it's a unique new event with a tailgate brawl. So absolutely, yes, I'm very optimistic that hopefully we can get more opportunities like this. I think it's a great question, and hopefully this is going to be a great week for us. I thought September to Remember was a great 3-hour show Wednesday night, last night on TBS. And then this Saturday, we kick it off with the tailgate brawl at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, ahead of the 3 p.m. pay-per-view start. And as I announced, it's a great way to start the show with FTR versus Christian Cage and the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland this Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time, start time. Thank you for that question. And thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Tony. We're going to move on. So next up, we're going to have Bilal Vakani with SiriusXM Canada, followed by Sean Ross Sapp with Fightful. Bilal?
Thank you. Tony, you have spoken before about the success of these Toronto AEW pay-per-views. Is an all-in Toronto stadium show at the newly renovated Rogers Centre, I still call it the Sky Dome, down the street from where All Out is taking place, a possibility in the future? Can you tell me there's a chance, Tony?
That's an exciting idea. There's a lot of exciting possibilities. I think whether it's that event or potentially a Revolution or a lot of the big AEW events, I think would be great to take there potentially. I've been there myself, and I have to say it's an amazing place, and I would love to go there, but I'm also very happy doing these shows in the Scotiabank Arena, which I think is a first-class facility where we've had some of the most successful, biggest shows in our history. And now it's a great opportunity for us to be there this Saturday afternoon. It's just hours away, AEW All Out. I can't wait for it. And, it's going to me, be something very historic. But absolutely, I think the Rogers Center is an incredible venue. I went there back at the Sky Dome over 23 years ago, and it's changed a lot as a venue, but that's a great venue as well. But I'm also very, very proud and pleased to be running AEW at the Scotiabank Arena this weekend, this Saturday afternoon. Thanks for asking.
Thanks, Tony, and thank you, Bilal. Sean Ross Sapp with Fightful is up next, followed by Amy Nemedy with WrestleJoy. Sean?
Hey, Tony, can you hear me?
We got you.
Hey, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
First off, good game Sunday. But I know that for the first number of years in AEW, outside of the pandemic where you didn't really have a choice, tradition in running certain venues and cities seemed to be very important, like Double or Nothing in Vegas, All Out in Chicago, and even the Thanksgiving week shows. We've seen a change from that. What led to that? Was it just needing to switch things up, or was it just time for you guys to make those changes?
It's a good question. I think that, to be fair, it's worked well to try some different things and still maintain our tradition of running great events in these same markets that have done very well. We're very loyal to key AEW cities that have performed very well, but we have routed things differently than ever before and are trying some different venues and have built, I hope, some new traditions that will go very well. I think it'll be really exciting to end the year and have a different holiday show in Chicago with AEW World's End, for example, and have, for the first time ever, AEW finish a year on the highest note in one of our most important cities, where we had the first ever All Out. And that's Chicago. And then for Chicago, it's very exciting for us to be able to have World's End there, but also to have All Out now here in Toronto. It's just as an example, we've got our most tickets we've ever sold for AEW All Out, and we're still having great shows. We just had an amazing residency, weeks of shows at the Aragon Ballroom that were really successful for us. And we've had a great history of running events there, and we'll continue every year to run lots of great events in Chicago. And now we're hitting some different cities with AEW All Out. It's our biggest crowd ever for an All Out this Saturday afternoon, and then also coming up for the holidays, we'll have a great holiday show Thanksgiving Eve in Nashville, where so much of the AEW staff works, and we'll be working hard on the AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision shows. So I think it's going to be really, really cool to have the same great cities that we are very loyal to keep going to the same cities with major events, but also rotating things a bit and trying some different things that are all working very well, that it seems to be doing very well, just like with All Out this Saturday afternoon, having our best results ever for the 7th edition of AEW All Out. And thanks for asking, Sean.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks, Tony. Amy Nemedy with WrestleJoy is up next, followed by Jonathan Orr with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Amy?
Hi, Tony. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey.
Hi. So there are so many exciting matches on this card for All Out. One of the most highly anticipated moments, however, is going to be the return of the Mad King, Eddie Kingston, who's been out on injury, surgery, and a hard-earned recovery since May of last year. Now, his return is set to be against Big Bill, which could undoubtedly be a huge opportunity for Bill. Can you share your thoughts on the long-awaited return of Eddie Kingston and what might be in store for Bill as he finds himself face-to-face with the Mad King? Thank you.
Well, I think it's a mutual dislike between Eddie Kingston and Big Bill. First of all, both guys that are very proud. And in the history of AEW, Eddie Kingston is one of the angriest and most violent-tempered people. And in many ways, it's endeared him to the fans from the very beginning, even when Eddie Kingston acted in a villainous way in the early days of AEW, when Eddie Kingston was not only wrestling, but also managing the careers of other people. We saw Eddie Kingston manipulate some people, but people loved that he was true to himself, and he built an amazing connection with the fans. Now, he's been out with an injury for a long time. He's accomplished a lot in AEW from where he came in to grow and become the AEW Continental Champion and win the Continental Classic in a format, a kind of tournament that is exactly the kind of tournament that Eddie Kingston grew up aspiring to participate in, and being told that you could never wrestle in one, let alone win one. And to win a major pro wrestling tournament like the Continental Classic and be the inaugural Continental Champion, it meant a lot. To be in these big opportunities, these big matches, it meant a lot to him. And Eddie Kingston was out injured for a very long time, away from the ring, and I don't think his temper's gotten any better. And I think it's a mutual dislike between Big Bill and Eddie Kingston. Big Bill has gone out and built a great connection with the fans himself, where we go on the road and see the fans really want Big Bill in action. He's not necessarily a nice guy, and people don't necessarily click with him as the, let me say this, as people don't necessarily see Bill as the fan favorite when he's breaking rules, but yet he is a fan favorite in the city, even when he's behaving as kind of an evil person, Big Bill. I think the fans really like him, and it's interesting because He has a ton of charisma. He's a great, great athlete, and he works really, really hard. And I think Big Bill deserves opportunities. And sometimes it's hard to shake certain labels when people talk about a wrestler and put a ceiling on what they're able to accomplish or what they're capable of doing in the ring. And I think this is an incredible opportunity for Big Bill, and it's also something I know Eddie Kingston wants. Eddie Kingston is going to be there. I've spoken to Eddie Kingston. He's going to be at the pay-per-view. He wants this match. This is somebody Eddie Kingston wants to wrestle, and I think that's important to focus on too. That both these guys don't like each other. Big Bill's comments have happened while he's been on TV. Big Bill's been out there wrestling matches, winning matches. He's on a winning streak, and he's accomplished a lot of things in AEW. And he's right that he's earned opportunities going out, winning matches on TV, and earning the respect of the fans, even if he's not necessarily a clean-cut fan favorite. And I have to say that I'm really looking forward to this. Big Bill questioned whether Eddie has the guts to show up, whether Eddie Kingston will be there. Well, I can tell you Eddie Kingston is coming. You can expect him to be there. If you order this pay-per-view, we'll deliver the match we're advertising, Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. It's a match Big Bill called out Eddie he wants, but Eddie Kingston wants this match, believe me. And I think that's very important in this and why I've sanctioned it. And I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be a great match. And Big Bill has become a red hot wrestler in AEW. When you go on the road and you see the way the fans connect with him, there's something really there. And this guy's worked hard to get these opportunities. And I don't believe in putting a ceiling or a limitation on what a wrestler is capable of achieving. And you see wrestlers take a turn and reach new heights in their careers. And Big Bill's gotten himself into incredible physical condition. He works really hard. The fans click with him, and I think that's going to be a great match. Big Bill versus Eddie Kingston in Eddie Kingston's return to AEW, facing a red hot wrestler on a winning streak in Big Bill. So I am excited for that match, and I think it's going to be a great show this Saturday afternoon with AEW All Out on pay-per-view on HBO Max. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy, and thanks, Tony. Jonathan Orr with the CBC is up next, and he will be followed by Adam Barnard with the Sportster. Jonathan?
Oh, hi there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, hi. Yes. Thanks, Tony, for inviting me to this call. This is a new experience. I wrote down my question, so I don't know if I'm going to sound like too scripted, but I'm just trying to organize my thoughts. Recently, Brody King got attention when he was wearing an Abolish ICE shirt in Arena, Mexico. And it made me think there was recently an essay that I also saw that kind of posited AEW as like a wrestling company that might be friendlier to people or fans who are maybe politically lean left. And maybe that's like a flattening way of saying left or right or whatever you want to say. But, it also said that it's really common in wrestling overall, certainly more than WWE today, which has, certain connections, obviously, to the Trump administration. It spoke particularly of Hangman Page's character kind of like as an authentic, believable working class hero. I'm wondering what your thoughts are maybe on that positioning, whether, there are any thoughts to lead into it or are there worries to not lean into it, especially considering there is certainly a heightened dialogue about entertainment and media, how it intersects with the U.S. lately and the U.S. administration, especially unusually in the last few days, perhaps.
Well, I think it's really important to note that the wrestlers in AEW are presented very much so as their authentic selves. And in the case of Brody King and Hangman Page, that's who those guys are. That's them being themselves. And I respect Hangman Page. I respect Brody King. AEW is a wrestling organization, and we present wrestling, and I want wrestling fans from all over the world of all different perspectives. And I think that's one of the things that makes wrestling really great, is it brings people from all walks of life together. When I was 13 years old, I was able through at the time academic achievement and my parents really wanting to push me into going to a school that I very much did not want to attend. I was able to parlay that into twisting my father's arm and taking him to wrestling in Philadelphia. And my father's entrepreneurial background then, he was crazy to think he was not that different in age than I am right now at that point. But where he was as an entrepreneur and everything he'd accomplished in life, there were people of a really different backgrounds than him in the arena in Philadelphia at that point. And going to wrestling shows, whether it was there or in my hometown, I mean, you saw people of all different backgrounds and not necessarily people like my dad at the shows. And I think one of the things that's really great about pro wrestling is people from all different walks of life come together and share the experience. And one of the things I really believe that's great about AEW is the wrestlers presenting their authentic perspective that's true to them, but also the wrestling company being a place where all the fans can come and watch the wrestling. And that's the focus of the show, because I employ Hangman Page and Brody King because they're awesome wrestlers. And that is the thing on the marquee is wrestling. And then when the fans come in, I want them to know that that's the focus of the show, and that's what we're putting on. And the wrestlers, they are themselves, and that's part of what makes the show great. Whether everyone agrees with everything every wrestler says or not is not the point of the show to me. It's that it's a great wrestling show, like September to Remember last night, or like All Out this Saturday afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. Adam Barnard with the Sportster is up next, followed by Andrew Baydala with Final Bell Media. Adam? Adam, can you try unmuting your line?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hi, Tony. Great to talk to you again, sir. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.
AEW just finished its residency at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. Go Birds. And one of the best matches of, sorry about that, Tony. One of the best matches of the 3 weeks was the 8-man tag match on the September 3rd Dynamite with Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Jet Speed against Kyle Fletcher, Josh Alexander, and the Young Bucks. I spoke to Kyle Fletcher earlier this week for the Sportster ahead of his AEW World Championship match. And he told me that the significance of him getting the pin in that match for his team exemplified where you saw him within his standing on the AEW roster. How major of a component do you see Kyle Fletcher as with building the future of AEW?
I think Kyle Fletcher is a huge, huge star in AEW, and Kyle Fletcher, now the TNT champion, and potentially this weekend will be the AEW world champion as well. He's already the face of TNT and could potentially be the face of all of AEW by this Saturday. And it's important to note that Kyle Fletcher has been doing everything he said he can do and will do. He became the TNT champion. He's taken out so many of the biggest names along the way, and possibly the biggest would be the person who's been from the very first AEW show a foundational part of the company, a founding father of AEW, Kenny Omega. And for Kyle Fletcher to put down Kenny Omega, take him out in that crazy match, and then also to have Hangman Page be put out, that was remarkable. But Fletcher again last night said by the end of September to Remember, he would leave Hangman Page laying and finish what he started in that match you just mentioned in Philadelphia. He finished it in London last night on September to Remember, but now it's going to happen in the ring in a match this Saturday afternoon that the fans want to see. The TNT champion, the protostar Kyle Fletcher, challenging the world champion Hangman Page in AEW's biggest all-out show ever. Our first ever afternoon all-out show, the most attended all-out ever, and the first AEW all-out ever on HBO Max pay-per-view. It's a huge milestone for so many, and it's a perfect match to have in that huge spotlight, to have the AEW World Champion Hangman Page versus the TNT Champion Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher absolutely has been on the rise this year. It's been happening for years, and Kyle Fletcher has worked himself into the most prominent of all positions, the TNT Champion, challenging for the world title at the biggest AEW all-out pay-per-view ever this Saturday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, and thanks, Adam. Andrew Baydala with Final Bell Media is up next, and then we're going to go ahead and try Dominic D'Angelo once again. Andrew?
Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
hey, Drew.
How are you? Congrats on the early success of All Out. It's great to see the Toronto market being a strong market for AEW. I did want to ask about the decision to adjust the pay-per-view start time. What prompted the change? And if the competition continues to try and run head-to-head, is this something AEW will do more frequently? Thanks.
I am very excited for the opportunity to have this show this Saturday afternoon. I thought it was the decision for our fans. We've had great success with the last few AEW pay-per-views. AEW Forbidden Door with the early start time that came from us starting at prime time in London and delivering the pay-per-view early in the US. That show did very well for Forbidden Door. And then we had some of our best pay-per-view numbers ever for AEW All In, which set some great business milestones for us. It was our most bought pay-per-view ever on Amazon. And it was a huge success and our biggest live crowd ever in North America for AEW All In Texas, again with that afternoon start time. So I think we can make it 3 great shows and 3 very successful shows in a row. And I can already tell you this show is going to be a very successful business venture. And I think it's also going to be a great wrestling show and keep this run of great AEW pay-per-views going this Saturday afternoon. And I think it was the right decision for the fans to put the time here, and also for us being in the pay-per-view business and to continue this run of great shows and making these adjustments based on the wrestling landscape and also based on our metrics saying that we thought this would be our best chance to deliver our best numbers while still delivering the great show to the fans. That is a must for me, and a lot of the fans like this setup better. Clearly, it's worked very well for us, and I think it's going to work very well for us this Saturday afternoon for AEW All Out. Thank you very much, Drew.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks, Tony. Dominic D'Angelo with Final Bell Media is up next, and we're going to follow that up with Sully Khan from Slam Wrestling.
Hey, Tony, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Hey, all right. Okay, looking forward to All Out this weekend on Saturday, and it should be a blast. I want to, and you talk about the big return of Eddie Kingston and what Cope and Christian mean to everything to that effect. Wanted to follow up on another wrestler that made his return was Wardlow. He was on TV for a little bit, and then there were reports that from Fightful that he might have gotten injured. I was hoping you could maybe give us a status update on him and what his status with the company is regarding injury.
Well, there were some reports. There were some reports that were accurate and some that weren't. And to give credit where credit's due, Sean did retract the stuff he put out. I think the thing that happens in aggregation is a lot of times the retraction doesn't spread nearly as quickly as the story. So one of the stories to myth bust that's out there, which I give Sean credit for retracting it very quickly, whoever told Sean this really should get out of the wrestling business and get out and stay out of the wrestling business because they have no business being in the wrestling business, giving wrong information and discrediting the company, saying that there was a plan for Wardlow to be the world title challenger at this pay-per-view. That is wildly inaccurate and was never, ever the plan. The plan has been and has always been for the TNT champion Kyle Fletcher to step up and challenge the AEW world champion Hangman Page at AEW All Out. And I thought it was ludicrous when I saw somebody report that AEW All Out, there was ever any talk of Wardlow wrestling for the world title, and there had been big plans for Wardlow. That is true. And Wardlow was going to be very involved in the television in the run-up to All Out, but he was never going to be the challenger. He was in the Don Callis family along with Kyle Fletcher, and Wardlow clearly coming back following that match where Swerve Strickland challenged Kazuchika Okada for the Unified Championship at Forbidden Door, which was a great event. Unfortunately, Swerve Strickland now is out injured with a knee injury, which we saw exacerbated by that attack with the chair from Okada. That's a really personal rivalry, personal situation. The Don Callis family involved in a lot of the biggest matches, championship matches, big stakes. And something that I, saw that was reported was first of all, that Wardlow was injured, but also that Wardlow was ever intended to be in the main event of AEW All Out as the challenger to Hangman Page. Well, Wardlow was supposed to return in a big way, but he was never supposed to be the AEW All Out challenger. Then I saw some other stuff reported that was also wrong in the follow up that, because I take a lot of issue with the sourcing of that. And I talked to Sean about it. And to Sean's credit, he did pull the report. But the fact that anybody can just go say something and that it's taken as fact when only one person knows, and it's me. And there's only one person out there, and I never told him that. So the fact that there's somebody out there that claims to know who is going to be challenging, and then these things get reported as fact, and this happens all across sports. I see it happen in other sports too. And it's not like it's just in wrestling, but it is really bad that when that stuff happens. So whoever the source is for that, just please get out of the wrestling business and stay out. And I think that, Wardlow is somebody I really, really respect. And I think it's a great choice for Wardlow to align himself with the Don Callis family, where we've seen some of the hottest stars in pro wrestling do some of their greatest work. You've got the unified champion, Kazuchika Okada, who is going to be battling the winner of this year's G1 tournament and another one of the top wrestlers in the world, and somebody that he has a very personal animosity with, and that is Konosuke Takeshita and Mascara Dorada, who put down Okada with that incredible dive after an incredible match on September to Remember. That's a great three-way match. Kyle Fletcher in the mix as the TNT champion, but now the World Championship title picture, the World Championship match, and taking out top champions along the way, and being the man who put down Kenny Omega and Hangman Page on the path to wear the TNT title and challenge for the world title. You see people doing these great things. You have Josh Alexander and Hechicero, who stepped up on September to Remember and have earned a place in the World Tag Team Championship spot. And you've got Don Callis family winning big matches on the shows. It makes sense for Wardlow to be with them. And I was really excited about his return. And I was so devastated when Wardlow was injured. And that is true. Wardlow is out injured, and that part of the report was true. But then the way people source things and the way people report things, I think it's terrible. And then what's crazy is then when the retraction comes, and I do give Sean a lot of credit for retracting the report, but whoever sourced it, and frankly, like taking the word of somebody who's not me, when only one person actually knows what's going to happen there, it's crazy. And I also think it's crazy and terrible that Wardlow got hurt. And most of all, I feel terrible for him that he is out injured. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. They've already filmed, thankfully, the American Gladiator show that he is a part of. I think he will do fantastic there. And then, thankfully, the timing of that, when that show is playing, I do expect he'll return. He's aligned with Don Callis. He's signed with Don Callis. Don Callis is very, very excited about working with Wardlow. When I approached him with these opportunities, Don Callis very, very, very excited about working with Wardlow. Wardlow very, very excited about working with Don Callis and being in the Don Callis family. It's worked out terribly, but Kyle Fletcher was always the handpicked man to be in this position here. Wardlow is a handpicked man to be in a key prominent position, as you saw when he got involved after Okada versus Swerve. And he's clearly a top guy in a top scene. We put the Don Callis family out there together, showing the new group and how powerful they were. Wardlow would have absolutely, if he was healthy, have been involved in this run up to All Out, and he would have been in a top prominent spot coming out of All Out. He was not going to be challenging Hangman Page. I thought that was crazy. I also give Sean a lot of credit for talking to Kyle after that and apologizing to Kyle, because Kyle was always a handpicked person to be here and be a top challenger, to be the top wrestler in the business, to be the TNT champion challenging the world champion. So I give Sean a lot of credit for how he handled that after the false report that came out. But whoever sourced him the false information. Thanks for asking about that, and I'm very sorry that Wardlow is injured, but we are very excited for his return.
Thank you, Tony. We are going to finish things up with Sully Khan from Slam Wrestling. Sully, go ahead.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Thanks, Tony, for the time. Welcome back to Toronto. Excited for the show Saturday. I'd like to ask you just a little bit about Rio and her return, surprising Mercedes Moné and challenging for her title. What do you expect fans to see from Rio in her return to an AEW ring this Saturday? Thanks.
Well, thank you for asking. Since the very beginning of AEW, Rio has been involved. She's participated from our very first show, and on the very first episode of Wednesday Night Dynamite, Rio won the Women's World Championship. Rio is a great wrestler, and we've known that from the very beginning of AEW. And we're having this incredible 2025, and one of the real highlights in AEW and all over the world of wrestling, because she's won championships all over the world in wrestling, is the CEO, Mercedes Moné, who is such a fantastic star. And Mercedes Moné, as the TBS champion, has become the face of the Superstation and is carrying on a tradition of over 50 years of pro wrestling on TBS. And what a perfect person to be the face of the Superstation. Mercedes Moné, one of the most respected pro wrestlers in the world, and she's somebody who really respects the craft of pro wrestling. I have so much respect for Mercedes Moné, and I can't imagine a more tough challenge and somebody who deserves the opportunity to challenge for the TBS championship more than the very first AEW Women's World Champion, somebody that's been from us the very beginning of AEW, been with us, Rio. I just think it's an incredible match, and I was really excited to be able to put this match on the biggest AEW all-out show ever, to have the very first Women's World Champion ever in AEW return to AEW and be a part of these events at this really hot time for the company. It's perfect. Rio had been out and away. It was great when I heard that Rio was able to return to America and return to the ring with us. And I'm really excited to have Rio in the best possible position she could return to pay-per-view in, challenging for the TBS title against the CEO, Mercedes Moné, in this awesome match this Saturday afternoon at AEW All Out.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up today?
This has been really great. I really appreciate everybody taking the time. I hope I got a chance to answer everybody's questions. Thank you all for attending. I know there's probably several of you who didn't get a chance to ask a question here today, and I hope that for anybody who didn't get a chance, hopefully a lot of you will be at the pay-per-view, and I'll get to see you at the scrum afterwards, and you can ask me a question there. I also am very happy to have you hopefully continue to attending these and get the questions in. I really appreciate all of you. I think that all of you covering the sport of pro wrestling and all of you giving these opportunities to AEW to talk about our pay-per-views, talk about the AEW shows, the TV and pay-per-views. It's just really important for us. And thank you for covering pro wrestling. A lot of you have been doing this with us from the very beginning, and some of you are new to these calls. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you'll continue joining us on these calls. And again, I hope to answer your questions at the pay-per-view, and I'm just really grateful to you all for covering AEW wrestling. Thanks for the opportunities, and I hope that you're enjoying the shows this year, and hope you'll all enjoy All Out this Saturday afternoon. Thank you very much, and thank you, Danny, for moderating this call.
And there you have it. As I mentioned, it lasted right about an hour. Couple of notes that I made during the media conference call. Very early, he was asked about the four-way for the AEW Women's World title, and Tony Khan was none too shy to proclaim Toni Storm the greatest champion in all of wrestling. It's hard to argue with that. I mean, Toni Storm is as over with the fans as anybody is. And she has held that AEW Women's World title for quite some time now. So I guess an argument could be made. You look at, say, for instance, the two champions. Well, right now, just one champion in WWE, Tiffany Stratton. She's definitely, I think she definitely, surpasses Tiffany Stratton. I think she surpasses Ash by Elegance, who's the current TNA Knockouts world champion. I would definitely, so I could see that. Sure, why not? There was a question about AEW being the affordable alternative. There's been a lot of talk about TKO saying WWE hasn't reached their financial potential, which is kind of buzzword for we're going to raise ticket prices more. And if you look, let's talk about WrestlePalooza, which is also this Saturday in Indianapolis. The ticket prices are pretty high there, and now they plan on raising ticket prices even more. Tony Khan made a point to be proud of the fact that he makes sure that ticket prices are affordable for families. He wants AEW to be the family-friendly promotion, and he does that. I mean, there's some exceptions with what happens in the ring, but as far as access to, for families, he definitely does that. And so yeah, I think that's what's going to carry on. And Tony can do that. It's his company. He doesn't have a parent company to answer to. He answer to his father, Shad, but other than that, it's his company. So Jason Powell, our good friend from ProWrestling.net, he asked about the possibility of an event in spring 2027. In case you haven't heard, WWE is going to run WrestleMania in 2027 in Saudi Arabia. You know that WrestleMania weekends usually are that's the gathering for different independent promotions and WrestleCon and everything else. Well, that's not happening, at least as far as I know. I saw something about possibly GCW being approached to run in Saudi. I don't know. But so could Tony Khan run an event to kind of compete and be that placeholder here in the U.S.? Tony Khan said there is a lot of interest. He says he's got something planned for spring of 2027. Now, it was right after that he started talking about Revolution. And Revolution is their traditional March pay-per-view. But he made it sound like maybe that's going to be his, alternative to WrestleMania. Again, we're talking a year and a half from now, so we'll see what happens. I have kind of gone back and forth, but I'm pretty set on if he's going to run an event, do not run it on WrestleMania weekend. And he's been, up to this point, he's been, he doesn't want to compete with WrestleMania. He moved Supercard of Honor, moved it away from WrestleMania weekend. They had it, just a couple months ago up in Arlington as a part of All In weekend. So I would, I wouldn't run WrestleMania weekend. I would probably run either weekend before, weekend after, somewhere in the neighborhood, and make it where indie companies could run WrestleCon, all that good stuff. I could see. So we'll see. That was pretty much it. A lot of it was about the pay-per-view, and I'm about to go over the card. So, but all in all, it was a good, like I said, just about an hour. So let me go over the card again. AEW All Out this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, on pay-per-view and HBO Max. There is a show. There is a pre-show, but it's not 0 hour. Apparently, it's called Saturday Tailgate Brawl. It's going to be it's scheduled to air 1 hour prior, so 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. It's going to be on HBO Max, also on TNT, which is interesting. I think TBS runs college football, but I don't think TNT runs college football. Either TBS or True TV, they usually have a college football game slated, but TNT doesn't. So why not, I guess. 3 matches right now for Saturday Tailgate Brawl. Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs, 2/3 of the AEW World Trios champions, facing the Workhorsemen, J.D. Drake and Anthony Henry. That should be a lot of fun. Should be a great match. The other third of the AEW World Trios champions, Katsuyori Shibata, has been challenged by Daniel Garcia, now of the Death Riders. I get the feeling that Daniel Garcia will pick up the win here. If for no other reason, they want to establish him in the Death Riders, so you give him a victory and, just go from there. So I'd like to see Shibata win, but I got a feeling Daniel Garcia will win. And in an 8-woman, what they're calling it a brawl, Willow Nightingale, Mina Shirakawa, Harley Cameron, and Queen Aminata will face Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Megan Bain, and Penelope Ford. That's going to be, crazy fun, beat people up. I get the feeling Willow and the girls will prevail. We'll see. Now, for the pay-per-view card, and Tony Khan did announce this. You just heard it on the conference call. Opening up AEW All Out will be Adam Copeland and Christian Cage taking on FTR. It's a big deal. You've got Copeland and Cage, of course, formerly known Edge and Christian, one of the greatest tag teams ever. Both men coming from Toronto, facing off against another one of the greatest tag teams around in FTR. I mean, it's going to be a brawl. We saw it last night on September to Remember. A lot of harsh words, and then, of course, the brawl erupted, and I think Dax got his nose busted, or they had a good shot of him, and he was bloody. So you got Copeland and Cage for the first time in Toronto in 20 years or something like that. You're not going to have them lose. That's, that just isn't going to happen. So anyway, Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, and FTR. That should be a big one. Big Bill versus Eddie Kingston. Tony Khan was asked about Eddie Kingston. He assures everyone that Eddie Kingston will be in Toronto. Remember, Eddie has been out for the last 18 months, with that serious leg injury, the rehabs. He's had setbacks, but apparently he's going to be good to go. And Big Bill wants to test him. So it'll be Big Bill versus Eddie Kingston. Assuming it is Eddie Kingston, Eddie's winning. We know that. Come on. In a 6-man tag, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP facing off against Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. Bishop Khan and Toa Leone. We saw the match on AEW last night. Lashley getting the win against Toa Leone, and it ended up in a big, big brawl. MVP getting some shots on Ricochet. He broke his cane over Ricochet's back. That should be just a fight. That'll be just nothing more than a fight. I got a feeling Hurt Syndicate will get the win, but we'll see. In a tables and tacks match, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, the newly married Maxwell Jacob Friedman, going up against Mark Briscoe. I want Mark Briscoe to win. He's been taking quite a few losses here recently, and I feel like this is a blow-off. So I think Mark should win. I don't think it would hurt MJF. MJF has got that Casino Gauntlet contract that he won in Arlington that he gets to, use for an AEW World title shot with 1 week's notice. Tony Khan did make that stipulation. So I don't think a loss would hurt MJF. My heart says Mark Briscoe. My head says MJF. We'll see. In a coffin match, Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. Darby Allin has been vowing to destroy Moxley and everything that he stands for. What does Daniel Garcia's addition to the Death Riders, how does that change this match? Before that, I was thinking, yeah, Darby's going to win this because it's a coffin match. It's his thing. Now I get the feeling something bad is going to happen to Darby Allin. Either he loses or he wins, and then Death Riders just mess him up. Either way, I think Darby Allin's going to come out on the bad side of that match. In a 3-way match for the AEW Unified Championship, Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, defending the title against Konosuke Takeshita, who, by the way, is the winner of the G1 Climax in New Japan. So he's also got IWGP World Heavyweight title shot in his pocket. And Mascara Dorada from CMLL. Dorada defeating Beast Mortos last night on September to Remember. So he gets a shot at that AEW Unified title. Look, we've got an AEW wrestler holding a CMLL title with MJF, holding that World Light Heavyweight Championship in CMLL. Why not Dorada, a CMLL wrestler holding an AEW title? It's not going to happen. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Okada's going to come out as the champion. If for no other reason, I think they're going to set up a singles match between him and Takeshita. I also, at least I want to believe that when Kenny Omega comes back, they're going to renew that rivalry. So, but I think on Saturday, Okada retains the title. In a four-way ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Bandito, and the Ring of Honor World Champion, Brody King and the Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito will defend the tag titles against the Young Bucks, Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, and Josh Alexander and Hechicero. I want to say Brodito retains. I could see maybe where the Young Bucks find a way to capture their fourth World Tag Team title. But I don't know. I think I'm leaning Brodito retains here. We'll see. In a four-way for the AEW Women's World Championship, the timeless one, Toni Storm, facing off against Tekla, Chris Statlander, and Jamie Hayter. These four have been at each other's throats. You've got a former world champion in Jamie Hayter, a former TBS champion in Chris Statlander, and then the newcomer Tekla, her first shot at one of those titles. I figured All In was the time to take that would have been the most appropriate time to take the title off of Toni Storm. They didn't. And they didn't do it at Forbidden Door last month, so I'm pretty sure she's going to keep the title until, somebody else comes around. So for the TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné defending against the first AEW Women's World Champion, Riho. It'll be fun to see Riho back in the ring. Mercedes Moné's not losing that title. Let's just be honest. She's had plenty of opportunities to lose that title. They're not taking the title off of her just yet. So, but it should be a fun match. Mercedes Moné and Riho. And then in the main event for the AEW World Championship, Hangman Adam Page defending against the TNT champion, Kyle Fletcher from the Don Callis family. There's a stipulation. If anybody from the Don Callis family interferes, Fletcher is stripped of the TNT championship, which makes me think somebody else is going to interfere. Now, will it cost Hangman the title? I don't think so. I think he's going to keep the title. Maybe he wins it by TQ or something like that. I don't know. But I just see some sort of schmoz finish. I don't know. But I think Hangman will still be the AEW World Champion when we finish AEW All Out. Anyway, that's the card. AEW All Out this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Don't forget the Saturday Tailgate Brawl 1 hour prior on TNT and Max. But All Out, available pay-per-view from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. If you need to know how to get the pay-per-view, HBO Max and Prime Video still in the United States. And then you see the rest of the outlets if you are outside the United States and want to watch AEW All Out. It should be a great show. I'm looking forward to it. Will it go, will it last into WrestlePalooza? Probably, because they did the same. They did it with All In when you had Saturday Night's Main Event that night. So I'm guessing they will make it last, because I think WrestlePalooza starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. So 4 hours for a pay-per-view. Usually Tony likes to go a little longer. So we'll see. Anyway, AEW All Out this Saturday. Hope you enjoy it. And that'll do it for this special edition of Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Again, don't forget, next week I am off, so it'll be the following week when I recap this as well as everything else that has happened. But until then, I'm Stu Myrick. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you at the matches.